If you're an experienced yoga teacher, you may have thought about offering yoga teacher training. You're confident as a teacher. You may have students who ask for yoga teacher training, but for whatever reason, usually it's time or just not your wheelhouse. You don't want to write the manuals and you don't have the capacity or the time to plan out the training. You actually have the option to buy a yoga teacher training, and this is perfectly allowed by Yoga Alliance. You can have a registered yoga school without having to write it yourself. And we're going to talk about not just our program, but other programs where you can buy yoga teacher training and what happens when you do that. Are you ready to become a yoga trainer? Welcome to the Yoga Trainer Fast Track.
We help experienced yoga teachers become trainers in their very own yoga teacher training school.
If you wish it was easier to have your own training, we share tips and tutorials to make your wish come true.
If you're an experienced yoga teacher, like and subscribe to get free resources so we keep making more videos. With that being said, let's get started.
You can buy a yoga teacher training and be perfectly qualified to register with Yoga Alliance with that teacher training. It is something that Yoga Alliance allows. They actually let you assign different roles for your teacher training. These are the school staff roles that Yoga Alliance allows. You can see that this one here is called a syllabus manager. In our training, we work as syllabus managers with schools. It says here, syllabus managers may create and or edit training programs and syllabi for the registered yoga school. And then there's other roles that the syllabus manager can do. The main thing is to know that Yoga Alliance allows you to bring on a syllabus manager to take care of that for you, because it's not everybody's wheelhouse to write a manual and plan a training. But there's a lot of really great yoga teachers out there who still should be allowed to be trainers without having to do all of that. The one thing you want to do is look at, when you buy a training, what are you getting? And what kind of support are you getting from the training? What kind of support are you getting with Yoga Alliance? And what kind of support are you getting after you buy? So we're going to look at 3 examples today.
Yeah, and the first example is actually a little bit giggly to say this, but it's somebody I consider almost like a yoga celebrity, somebody who we actually reference in our manuals. So we were at the Toronto Yoga Conference 2018 talking about the Yoga Trainer Fast Track, and Leslie Kaminoff comes to our booth and says, "Hey, what you doing?" And interestingly enough, Leslie Kaminoff had a very similar thought process. So if you're not aware, Leslie Kaminoff, his company is called YogaAnatomy. He's got some books and a yoga studio and considers himself a specialist, and he's recognized as a specialist in the industry in terms of yoga anatomy. He doesn't sell a complete 200-hour teacher training, but he does have an insert, an anatomy insert that yoga teachers can drop into their teacher training. When he got wind at the yoga conference that we had a whole 200-hour program, we had a great conversation about, what are you doing and what are you doing and how are you fitting this in? And it was really wonderful because up until that point, we hadn't heard of a lot of other people that were doing this. So it's kind of like this brainchild that came around the same time. We, of course, had been offering our 200-hour teacher training program, licensing it to experienced yoga teachers for a few years at that point. So it was like a meeting of the minds, knowing that this is perfectly allowed by Yoga Alliance. Take somebody else's area of expertise and drop it into your training, or use the entire training. He does have a 20-hour insert, which is online, and a 10-hour in-class component that you would actually teach. So as the trainer, you get the information and he gives you the lesson plans to teach it. So very similar thought process amongst his team and us over at the Ambassador Yoga Trainer Fast Track. And really what we want you to know is, you don't have to be a really great experienced yoga teacher and a publisher of manuals as well, it's quite normal to bring in other elements, whether it be the whole thing or kind of drop it in. So that's what Leslie Kaminoff was doing.
Mhm.
And then more recently, we see other areas of sort of what might be required in yoga teacher training being explored. And you looked at Amanda McKinney's work.
This is Amanda McKinney. She's got a great podcast. It's all about marketing for yoga teachers. You plug in a 4-hour marketing program into your teacher training, and she's selling that to yoga teachers. It's all her teaching. So there's no part that you teach. It's for people who want to her she's a marketing person, and she's also a yoga teacher. You can include this 4 hours of her recorded marketing training. It counts as 4 credit hours for your curriculum. It provides worksheets and the necessary things. And this one, you can look through. It's her, the way she does it is she has a $597 US subscription that the trainer pays every year, and they're allowed to enroll. Right now she's saying unlimited students for that amount. So that's to plug in the 4 hours of training into your 200-hour teacher training. So that's to cover the business of yoga. And then I think the final one we wanted to show was our program.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me how people are doing it different ways. I know that Amanda McKinney has a annual fee, and then as the trainer, you would enroll your students into that 4-hour section, whereas Leslie Kaminoff has a one-time fee and then essentially a licensing fee for every student that is enrolled. So what's interesting is there's a similar thought process on what's being done, but a different method on how it's being implemented and what the fees are and what you get for that. There's different timelines on how much access you have or how much your students have. So we just wanted to kind of show you with Leslie Kaminoff, it's 20 hours that he teaches, 10 hours that you teach. He does provide you with a syllabus that you can enter into Yoga Alliance to account for those hours, because your Yoga Alliance application won't get approved unless everything is accounted for. So you actually get the syllabus, which is quite valuable. His startup cost is, well, he's got it tiered a little bit. So option one is $497 for your one-time fee. And then each time you register a student, the fee is $197. If you want his most popular variation, there's access to everything that you just see there, the 30 hours of training. But there's a few more perks, I think, for the trainer, not necessarily for your students. So your fee would go up to $1,497 as your investment, and then again your students get access to the material for $200.
It's interesting. You got to look at the startup costs and then the ongoing cost per student, $6.50 per teaching hour, with Leslie Kaminoff teaching 20 hours and you teaching 10 hours as the trainer. And then for Amanda McKinney's, she's got her ongoing cost is a yearly subscription of $597 a year. And so you're not paying per student, but as the trainer, you're paying every year. And we saw that Amanda's not really in tune with the Yoga Alliance. She has a link where you can look at the Yoga Alliance curriculum, which we looked at here, this section on the standards. When you click on this, it actually takes you to the old Yoga Alliance standards where they used to have the 5 categories. And then our training, which is 40 hours of that we teach, 160 hours that you teach. And with the initial startup cost, that does work out to $30 per hour of training. But it also includes all your trainer lesson plans for the full 200-hour training, not just 30 hours that you're getting here. and also the full Yoga Alliance syllabus that you can upload to Yoga Alliance. And then let's look at the ongoing costs, Claire.
Yeah, and what's interesting, just a note about that Yoga Alliance syllabus, you can upload it if you want. We'll give it to you. But also, if you list us as your syllabus manager, when we circle back to the roles, we can actually upload that for you. So you don't really have to get involved. With Amanda McKinney's, you're going to have to account for 4 hours of your training being dedicated to marketing training, which is perfectly allowed. But you're going to have to identify what's being taught in that training to enter that into your syllabus. So that is a little bit more work. With the Yoga Trainer Fast Track, we want to be really equitable because we want to put a lot of trust in our trainers. We know that you know what to charge your students. We know that you know what's fair economically in your community. So we don't have a set ongoing fee. It actually fluctuates depending on what you as the trainer are charging your students. So you are the school owner, you can charge whatever it is that you want for your training, what's profitable for you and fair for your students. And whatever that reflection is, there's a 10% fee. In an example where you might charge $3,000 to your students to take your training, that's pretty standard average. It actually works out to $300 would be your 10% fee that comes back to the Yoga Trainer Fast Track, which is actually only $1.50. And the student has lifetime access, which is valuable because I've been offering teacher training for many years, so has Aruna. And we certainly do not mind answering questions for students many years after they've graduated, but it is time consuming. And this way we don't have to. The students don't have to come to you several years after they've graduated to have clarification on a topic. They can just actually go back to the original program. They're going to have access to that forever. So it's really important to look at when you're buying a training, what are you actually getting? And price is not just the only factor. If you even got a whole 200-hour manual, but then had to extract from that and create a syllabus trying to figure out what fits in all of the core competencies, just recognize that it's going to be a lot of work, and there's no guarantee that the work that you do is going to actually get approved by Yoga Alliance.
Yeah, so if you didn't know that you were allowed to buy a yoga teacher training, now you know.
Yay!
And hopefully we've given you a few of the factors that you should look into, what you're getting for the cost, how much work you'll have left to do after you buy the training.